coming to you tonight live from Bunny Gunner. We thought it would be nice if you could, if Karen could be here with her work and walk you through her pieces and talk about them and her process. So with that being said, I'm going to switch it over to Karen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bunny Gunner. I want to thank Yvette and Mark for showing my work in their beautiful space and for arranging all of these technical details for our virtual art opening. We don't have any wine and cheese. Unfortunately, you probably have more of that at home than I have here. But put your feet up. If you've got your bunny slippers on, pour yourself a glass of wine, and we're going to walk through the show. All of these pieces are new. This is all new work created over the past year in various stages of quarantine, lockdown, safer at home, don't even think about going anywhere orders. And so a lot of the pieces are reflections on the past year. And as I mentioned, it's an entirely new body of work. All of these pieces incorporate origami. I've been folding origami since I was a child. I remember taking home shopping bags of origami books from the library when I was a little kid. And to this day, I still fold paper cranes in boring business meetings and try not to have anybody see me do it. But I've always associated origami with cranes, birds, animals, little figures. And then I discovered geometric origami. And I've worked in geometric abstraction for a while now, especially in encaustic, usually carving into the wax. And when I discovered that I could make geometric forms in origami, I started thinking about ways to incorporate them into my encaustic paintings. And so the result of all of that and having more time at home in the studio, not traveling or going anywhere, this is the result. So we're going to start with a piece over here in the corner. This is called the Rise, and one of the first forms I started making in origami was this three-dimensional pyramid shape, and so that's incorporated here into the piece. And it's one of the things those pyramids look like are icebergs, and so this is kind of a commentary on climate change and sea rise. Again, it's called The Rise. It's encaustic and paper on panel. And I'm going to move back here so that Mark can show the work over here. The next piece over is called Ancient Algorithm. That was one of the first ones in the series. So in addition to just the plain geometric forms, I discovered origami quilts. And these are origami geometric shapes that interlock together like a quilt. And so this is one of those first pieces I experimented with origami and encaustic. So it's got some encaustic work on this side, but the whole piece is covered in wax and encaustic. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, encaustic is a painting medium that is made up of beeswax, a resin to harden it, and pigment. So encaustic refers to the medium, just like the watercolor or oil. These are all made with wax and paper. Our next piece over here is called Stability. These are tiny little folded triangles, all three-dimensional triangles with wells in them, mounted on mat board and coated with encaustic and then pastel for the various colors. And with this one, I was really looking at the play of the colors and the shape of the and pattern of the colors. Very much into patterns and I like things in order. If you could see my new spice rack I put up today, you would understand. So, this piece here is another origami quilt, and you can see here where the pieces are joined at the corners by other origami pieces. And when I put this pattern together on the panel, it reminded me of a patchwork quilt pattern. That's a fairly famous pattern called Grandmother's Wedding Ring. And so this has the addition of some barbed wire imagery in it, and this piece is called Not Your Grandmother's Wedding Ring. This next piece here is another origami quilt. So all of these pieces are fitted together. So even if this was not affixed to the panel with the wax, this all stays together. You can like hold it up as one piece because all of those individual pieces of origami paper all lock together. And this is called when everything comes together. And for me, adding the wax is a very integral part of these pieces. I work in encaustic. The encaustic is not only the glue holding these things together, but it preserves, it captures a moment in time. When you fold origami shapes, very frequently to get the shape you want, you make a series of folds and then you unfold the entire thing. And you're left with this square piece of paper again, but there's just these creases in it that you're going to then fold a different way to get to your final form. And the creases are memory. They're memory in the paper of how that paper is supposed to go back and forth together. So the wax also is memory. It holds things together, memorializes a moment in time. This piece is another origami quilt. This is made up of individual modules of a very classic Japanese origami fold called lover's knot. And it's called the lover's knot because when you fold this particular pattern, it basically locks into place. It's very hard to unfold. And so I have one here, and when you do the final form of it, you open it up and you flatten this out. This is almost impossible to unfold without tearing the paper. And so it's called lover's knot because once you're committed to this, you're committed to this. This is not going anywhere. So this piece is made up of a series of these forms in smaller size, all interlocked together. And you can see there's a color break in the middle. And this is basically a reflection on two people who just can't quite get it together. And it's called Lovers, Knot, N-O-T, not N-O-T. Okay. This piece over here is also made up of traditional Japanese forms. These are made up of teitos. Teitos are classic Japanese origami envelopes. And I do have one here. And what's really interesting about these is these are envelopes you could write a letter to someone, you could fold it into its own envelope. Or you could tuck a little love note inside there. Or people folded them to make a little envelope to put pins in or buttons or something, you didn't want to lose in your bag. You can make this little envelope. And on a trip to San Francisco, I came across a secondhand store selling old clothes and old books, and I picked up a Japanese paperback. No picture on the cover. I had absolutely no idea what the book is about. No illustrations. But I really wanted to do something with those book pages. And so these are folded pages of that Japanese book. And as I was folding them, I imagined a young woman interred in internment camp at Manzanar during World War II, writing letters to her lover, but who would never get them. And so this piece is called Letters from Manzanar. And this piece is called Balance. Again, this is these folded origami pyramids with the sunken middles. This one I really wanted to contrast the three-dimensional aspect of the triangles with the absolute smooth surface of the encaustic, and that is Balance.
Good job.
Yeah, the New Yorker in me, I'm like, let's go to mile a minute here. Okay. Go down here. This is another piece with these pyramids, triangle shape. As you can tell, I'm kind of obsessed. This is sort of another commentary on climate change. This is called That Great Big Sucking Sound. And for this piece, this is a reverse pyramid where the paper actually goes back into the panel. So I had to cut a hole in the panel and fit the inside out origami pyramid into that space, and then build up the rest of the piece with the origami and the encaustic. This piece here is more of a mosaic, so it's not a quilt, it doesn't lock together, but just like Letters from Manzanar, it's more of a mosaic shape of individual forms. And these forms actually are picture frames. So this is an origami form where you can fold a picture frame and you can put a picture of someone you love, someone you don't like, someone you want to throw darts at in the picture frame. And these are all empty picture frames representing all the people we have been able to see over the past year. And it's called Coded Blues. And this piece is familiar to those of you who saw the postcard, the electronic postcard for the show. This is one of the earlier ones. And again, this is an origami quilt. And this is coated with encaustic and has some texture added to it and oil stick. And this one is called You Were Never in Control. And this piece is another mosaic origami piece. This is also made from pages of a book. This time I know what book it is. And yes, 2 books did die to create this artwork. I'm sorry, but I did use very old books and used books. And I couldn't read the one in Japanese, but I had read this one many years ago. And I did read it again when I bought the used copy to turn it to the artwork. This is another Tato form, but as you can see, this one sort of doesn't lock together really as well as the other form. It keeps opening. And so when I was playing with this origami shape, the title came to me of Things Fall Apart. And that is a classic book by Geomancy about the incursion of colonialism in Africa in the 1800s. And so I did purchase a used copy of Things Fall Apart. And these are pages from that book, turned into these forms. And the colors are significant in that the red, black, and green stripes are the colors of the Pan-African flag, which was designed by Marcus Garvey in the 1920s. And reflect, sometimes also called the African Liberation Flag or the African American Liberation Flag. And so this is Things Fall Apart. And don't stop to read more, but it's a really good book.
That's
Or mobile.
So this, we'll start with this piece here. This is called It's All Right There in Black and White. And this is another origami quilt. These are all triangles that all have a little extra leaf on them, which you can't see. Then they all interlock and lock together. And with this, I was really interested in the pattern of the black and white paper, and also what happens when the wax saturates the paper. Sometimes it changes color, sometimes it darkens, sometimes there's absolutely no effect on it, and in this case, you can see the shadows of the pattern coming through from the other sides of the paper. Again, it's all right there in black and white. And then this piece was just a lot of fun. This is a origami form that basically makes a spiral, very 3-dimensional spiral. Each one of those is made up of 4 individual pieces of paper that are interlocked together and folded to make the spirals. And another reflection on this past year of COVID and lockdown, this is called spiraling out of control. This is another mosaic piece. These are flat origami folded hexagons. And embedded in the wax. This is one of those cases where the wax really didn't, it permeates the paper, but it didn't really change the color of the paper. And this is called Redheaded temper. When I was growing up, ginger was not a thing, you know, you were a redhead. And when I was a little kid, I would get teased all the time saying, I must have a really bad temper. I must have a redheaded temper. I actually don't have a redheaded temper. I'm internalizing a lot of my anger. So this is redheaded temper. And then these over here. I will start with the left. This one is called foci. This is another combination of those 3-dimensional pyramids using a paper that is naturally wrinkly and dimensional. And all of the, there's a lot of math involved in this particular exhibit, and geometry was the only math I understood in school, but this actually required like math with numbers, because I had to figure out how many triangles of what size would make up half of the other triangle, and there was math involved. That's both sides. This is another reflection on life in 2020. This is called Life is Like a Box of Chocolates, 2020 edition. There are no chocolates. There's just nothing. It's an empty box of what should have chocolates in it, and it just doesn't. There's nothing there. Shh, you're not supposed to tell everybody to come on. And then this piece is the only piece in the exhibit that it combines my printmaking with this particular origami and encaustic series. And I had created, I cut a lino block of crow, and ran off, I don't know how many dozens of proof prints of this crow on thin Japanese paper, and had all these crows flying around in my studio. and decided to use some of them to fold them into nests. Initially, this piece was going to be larger, like the big square ones, and after folding 3 of these nests, it's not an easy form to fold. it was frustrating, and so when I got 3 that worked, I cut it off at 3. That was enough. That was enough of folding origami nests. Trust me on that. So and this is empty, and this one has a little A, and there's a waxed dry orchid flower in that. So we're gonna go outside and see if I'm going outside.
We're gonna go outside and then show you inside.
Oh, you can.
Oh, it's locked. Just unlock.
We're locked in.
There we go. If you guys want to bring up PowerPoint, you guys can. You can do it. If anybody wants to see like up close pictures from that PowerPoint, or if you guys think this will be it's up to you guys.
We'll post it later.
Mark is
Slow.
gonna focus in on some of the pieces now.
And if anybody wants to see any specific pieces,
Pipe up or ask a question or.
I'm just concerned with the audio. Were they able to hear
Karen, I couldn't hear you at all when you were outside and wondered if you could talk about that piece again.
Oh, okay, sure, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a little trafficy outside. So the piece outside is called Dust Catcher. And it's made up of those concave 3-dimensional origami pyramids mounted to mat board. And that piece, all of the works in the show are for sale. And that piece, though, is, because it's not on a wood panel, it's not framed, it's just mounted on mat board. That piece is available for a donation of $50 or more. So if you come in and you show Yvette that you've made a $50 or higher donation to a progressive or animal charity, you can go home with that piece and it can collect dust on your wall. But it cleans up very easily with a little compressed air.
First come, first serve. Let people know about your business.
And we're going to switch back to Yvette.
So switch camera. Got it? Is it on you?
Mhm. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions in regards to these pieces or a particular piece that you would like us to maybe show again? No? Okay.
Unmute. So I'm gonna. Hi, I'm Jonna.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi, I'm actually kind of curious as to the just some like kind of technical aspects. Is the weight of the paper? Do you find difficulties, Karen, with the paper like literally holding up to the weight and heat of the wax? Is there any kind of special things you're doing?
Actually, no, I was wary about that when I started doing this work, but because the paper is so absorbent, the wax really just soaks into the paper.
No, and it just wants to hold the form and be happy.
Yeah, it holds the form and it's happy. Obviously, I wouldn't want to, drop some of the 3-dimensional pyramid ones, on their faces from a high distance, but they're pretty rugged. And they're the depending on the paper, like the book paper is very, very absorbent because they were older books and the paper was very dry, and so it just sort of slurped up the wax. And I'm gonna take this with me.
Oh, that's funny. It's almost the opposite of what I would have thought, that it would have become brittle, but that makes sense.
you don't want to.
They're stunning. Stunning.
You see this one over here, you can see how flexible this is. This is all coated with wax, but they're all really flexible. This all absorbed.
They're so beautiful. Congratulations, Karen. Really amazing work.
Anybody else?
I want to see you basketball also.
Okay, so as Karen had stated, all pieces are available for sale. You can contact me through email. You can call the gallery, 909-736-5488. If you're following us on Facebook or Instagram, you can certainly send us an Insta message and contact us that way.
Yvette, I think Steve is hand up. I just wanted to say congratulations, Karen. This is Adiola. And but I saw Steve hands was up. I think he has a question, but he's muted too.
Uh,
I just unmuted myself.
there we go.
Yeah, I didn't know I could. I did have a question for Karen, and she mentioned the folds in each of the origami preserve memory. And of course, origami has a tradition that goes back, I don't know how, eons. And then again, the encaustic preserves the memory within the origami. And I noticed also that in several of the pieces, even the pieces where the pages of the books are folded in origami, referencing even further memory. So, and the box of chocolates. I mean, how can you not have memories about each one of those chocolates? So I just wondered if Karen could talk a little bit more about the importance of memory in these compositions that she's produced.
Yeah, you know, it's something, Steve, that came to me after a lot of the work had been made. It wasn't something I went into the series thinking about memory, but as I made more and more of the pieces, as you mentioned, with the folds, with the wax, it just became obvious that there's memory incorporated into every one of them. And I think that's probably just a natural extension of aging, and also being, you know, in such a quiet place this past year with, you know, not a lot of outside activities that any of us could do. You know, a lot of us spend a lot more time at home alone than we're used to. And that naturally brings your mind to things like memory and things you miss, you know, not being able to, you know, run out to your favorite chocolate shop or not see your, you know, your friend or your lover who would give you a box of chocolates. And so memory is just infused in everything, but it wasn't in the forefront of my mind when I was creating them.
I lost the audio.
But it's very enjoyable. I'm really having a very good time working in this particular mode.
Well, I think it's very successful in that it really, by adding that concept in my brain, that's going to eat at it for quite a while now. And now I love aesthetically what you've done, but I feel like knowing how you feel, it's adding another layer to it for me as well.
Thank you. Annie, were you going to tell people how they can see the show in person if they're so inclined?
Yeah. So we did this event in lieu of having an in-person reception. Hopefully soon we can get back to those days. However, right now we decided let's do it this way. So people who don't feel comfortable coming out can have the opportunity to still enjoy the art. If you do want to come out and see it in person, you're always more than welcome to come. I'm here Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. I am closed Sundays and Mondays. You can call and make an appointment, or you can just show up. We are limiting how many people we're allowed to have in the gallery at one time. Masks are required, hand sanitizer, all that fun stuff. But you're more than welcome to come and take a look at these pieces in person as well.
And if anyone would like to meet me here at the gallery, send me a message. I live only about 10 minutes away. And so at certain hours on certain days, I would be able to meet you here and walk you through the pieces if that's something that you would like. With my mask.
With her mask.
All mask studio, courtesy of Studio C down the way.
So again, thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. If there's any other questions or comments, please feel free to go ahead.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for attending.
Great show, Karen. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you, Viola.
Really wonderful work. Thank you.
Great show, Karen. Really beautiful, really inspiring. I just love all those, the dimensionality of all those pieces. It's really wonderful. Good show.
Well done, Karen.
Fun, but-
Congratulations.
All the three-dimensional aspects.
Congratulations, Karen. Great work. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Good job. It's beautiful.
Beautiful show, Karen. My only regret is I can't smell the crayons from here.
They smell just like you remember from kindergarten, Steve.
Right. That's right. I bet it smells wonderful in there. I didn't think of that.
Okay.
Actually, it smells like freshly painted walls in here.
Oh,
We'll be sending the PDFs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. For all of you that attended, we'll also be sending you a PDF. Is it the flip book?
A flip book.
A flip book.
Of her work, so you can see it, look at it.
Close-up photos.
Yeah.
Photos of it.
oh. Oh, nice. Thank you.
Oh, fun.
And a video recording
Great.
tonight. So
Yes, and this has been recorded, so for people who couldn't make it or forgot something, they'd like to hear me jabber on again, you can play the video.
All right, well, if nobody else has any other questions, I think we're gonna call it a wrap.
Thank you all again.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Hi, Denise.
Thank
Bye.
Get you in
you.
here.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good night, everybody.